When my father got diagnosed with a brain tumor in '99, my first thought was I need to get him his cannabis. He needed that so badly and he suffered. And I almost got arrested trying to bring it into the hospital many times. I have a 34-year-old horse. He should not even be walking, but he had given him cannabis. To see him be able to go out every day in his fields and do his thing, it's amazing. In today's society, women must band, and we must stand, and we must shout, and we must talk, because we have a lot to say and we have a lot to offer. And if a business is creating products for women without women making decisions on those products, without researching women's bodies, we're failing.
Heidi.
Yes.
So tell me who you are.
Well, I am actually Heidi Hill, but that is my maiden and true name. But in the cannabis industry, everyone knows me as Heidi Whitman, which was my married name. And I find it to be very interesting that I got a chance to work in something that I was so passionate about twice in my life. I used to work with animals. I had an animal health company and I had a dog walking business, believe it or not, which was my passion. And I exited it. I actually exited it and gave me an opportunity. And that was not work. And now I'm back where I was then, where I'm not working because I'm focusing on plant medicine. And so I've got to do this twice now. It's just a wonderful way to live because you're doing what you believe in.
Why did you start dog walking?
Dog walking business? I love animals, and I thought as an educated woman that was trusted, and I lived down in South Florida where there was a disposable income society. There were people that were getting animals and not really doing what they should do with them, which was exercise them, allow them to be dogs. So I decided to start a dog walking business, which is something I really enjoyed. With someone that worked with animals, I was a veterinary technician. I had, medical knowledge. So I started catering to this society, and it grew to 900 clients, and I exited to a veterinarian who took it over. I did probably 14, 16-hour days for years, and then I started hiring staff so I would be trusted. And I worked the South Florida market, and it's still going today. I started in 2006. But during that time, I utilized plant medicine for one of my dogs that was not well, and that opened up my eyes to options because I was trained in typical pharmaceuticals for veterinary care as a veterinary nurse. And it started kind of paving the path for what was going to be the future, which is today.
And how did you end up in cannabis?
Cannabis has been in my life, my entire life. My father, who left when I was very young, he always used it. I thought it was normal because I didn't see it as anything else. And when I think I was 8 years old, I remember the school had an assembly and they burned a cannabis wafer. And it was like something that smelled like cannabis to tell us kids never to go around the smell. Like this was in the 70s probably and early 80s. But it still didn't click with me because what my dad was doing to me was just him smoking, like he smoked cigarettes. So he was smoking something else that smelled different. When my father got diagnosed with a brain tumor in '99 and he was given about a year to live, he went right into a hospital. My first thought was I need to get him his cannabis, like his joints, because he needs his joints. That's what he did all the time. And especially as a scared man, probably at that point, without truly knowing, but self-medicating for depression, anxiety, everything else that was going on in his life, I realized he needed that so badly and he suffered. And I almost got arrested trying to bring it into the hospital many times because I was like, my dad needs this. He's dying. Why can't we just give this to him? And it was sad because I thought he was dying a scared man. And before with the cannabis, it always seemed to keep him even keeled. I didn't really put all these pieces together, but I also used to utilize it and I would utilize it with him, but it was like a secret. I did it with my friends, but how many friends do tell, oh, my dad and I get high together? It just didn't really seem appropriate. But fast forward all these years later, I realized that my father was actually self-medicating. And when I was in LA, I saw the Green Doctors in Venice Beach, and they were just stopping people on the boardwalk. Like, do you have hair? Do you have trouble sleeping? Do you ever get a headache? Oh, you're eligible for a prescription. And they would start giving scripts on Venice Beach and allowing them to go purchase. Then those Green Doctors, they would literally wear green scrubs. It was kind of funny. They turned into CBD shops because CBD became something that was now available. And then I didn't use for a very long time. I was an entrepreneur. I didn't touch anything. I wanted to do everything correct for my clients. And then I thought, maybe in 2016, I was like, maybe I could bring this to the UK where I live now. Maybe I could bring CBD over because it was not even on the radar really. And then in 2018, the medical market opened. CBD was prevalent and I thought, well, this is an opportunity. So I created my first company, which was a CBD company for people and pets. And I exited in 19.
But why did you come to UK?
I came to the UK because I was in a relationship that brought me there. But the beautiful thing was it was so much of a blank slate that I was able to, I was definitely deemed the cannabis or, the CBD lady, like at the gym. in my little village neighborhood, but people started to get curious. There was fear, massive fear factor in 18, but then it started to become more of a curiosity. And I liked the fact I could start educating people. So I really threw myself into the education of why it's used, for the purposes that it's used, and for the fact that the endocannabinoid system existed, which I self-studied. I was experiential. I self-taught all of the aspects of how cannabis can unlock a dormant system in our body and in animals' bodies. Back then it was just mammals they were talking about, but now we know that it's all species.
What is the most common misunderstanding?
They all think they're going to get high. They all are panicking, but the truth is most of these people probably have done that, but probably in the wrong way, from what I can tell. They might have had a bad experience. They might have had, some type of bad, I guess maybe purchasing something on the street got them too stoned. They panicked. People can think they're having a heart attack if they have too much THC in their system. Everyone's different. So I really went forward on the non-psychoactive part by just introducing CBD. And as a woman that was misdiagnosed for years with different female health issues, I started talking about it in like a yoga class. And then everyone started inquiring. I dropped the information that this is what I do, and then they start coming over and try to figure it out. So I actually held a women's event very casually in a pub outside of my village because they said, you can talk about whatever you want here. And we even did demonstrations on how to get medical cannabis and take cannabis and all the vaporizing, because we cannot combust in the UK, so it has to be vaporized. So I brought all the people from the clinics and experts in to just talk to the local women. But I think that spark happened to grow, and then people start seeing it in the main stores, Holland and Barrett, on the main street, on the high street they call it. But there is still a question of what do I take and who do I trust? That still needs refining, but it's people like me that just talk about it. I think it makes it more normal.
So you basically just went to the street and talked to people and then let the fire kind of spread.
I think the fire spread. I definitely do. Because I'm very outwardly spoken about things, and I can tell that if you're an older woman, you're going to be going through menopause, you probably have an aging parent. Both of those aspects can be mitigated with cannabis or any kind of plant-based medicine. So I think that is something that sort of started to resonate, and the inquiries started coming in. I would connect them with clinics, and I would kind of put them on a path, just as human to human, not for business purposes. But it's worth it to help people get through something that could be otherwise counterproductive. If they're taking any kind of hormone that might instigate something else in their system that could propagate maybe a tumor or any kind of cancer, why not have a complement or an alternative to lean on? We should have choices. So I had choices. I made them myself. I looked at it as self-discovery, helping myself with cannabis, but I felt like I should share it. It's like a mission.
To really strike you, your passion when you talk about cannabis?
I love it. I think it helps. I have a mother with dementia, and the reason why she's in my home and not in a nursing home is so that I can treat her with microdoses of mushrooms, plant-based medicines, and she has a cannabis prescription, because I can't do that in a public nursing home. I think there's a lot to be said how it can help your life and your loved ones, both.
And what do you do outside cannabis? It feels like you're 25.
I'm definitely in it all the time, but I'm a strategist, so I work for a variety of companies, which works really well for my ADHD because I get to touch different points, and all of those points are like a puzzle. They come together, and it strengthens the industry. I ride horses. My horses are my life. That is my escape. It's my church. It's my happiness. I can forget about everything else when I ride my horses, because if you're on a 1,000-pound animal, you can't start thinking about something else. You have to focus, so it's a really good focus point. And I do a lot with my dogs. I travel. I have an incredible group of friends. We are mostly, at this stage, a lot of people in the industry, but we're very supportive in nature, so we also take time off.
What makes you happy?
I love seeing people have a different experience than they think they're going to have. So when I see people have a chance to try something different, it's almost like a joy to see them be better, to see them thrive. I have a 34-year-old horse. He should not even be walking, but he'd give him cannabis. To see him be able to go out every day in his fields and do his thing, it's amazing. That to me makes me really happy, because I'm proving what I thought before, but now it actually has come to fruition because I've had the opportunity to bring it that way.
Seems like you're doing so much and you're having so much time. Do you find, balancing?
I'm pretty bad at that.
Okay.
I'll outwardly admit it. I tend to really, because this is a passion of mine, and I was just talking to some of the other women, and it's like, I can't go back to a normal job. There is no normal job for me anymore. This is what I do. And if I can leave a legacy behind of something that I did, a little part to change the way people think for the betterment of their lifestyle, for the betterment of their life, for the betterment of the planet, to stop pumping pharmaceuticals, they're useful, but they don't need to be chronic. There's a way to keep a balance between that. I'll feel like I've done my job. So passion drives me, and I actually am happy doing it. I take breaks when I need them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not often, but yeah, I'll sleep for a bit. Might sleep until 8 and call it crazy, but yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind because I love nature and I think that nature's here to heal us. So that's why I do what I do.
So you're actually up against quite a big thing, right? You want to change the culture, change how people see it and how people understand it. So if there is one thing you can change very easily, you can just snap your finger and change, what would that be?
I think normalizing it. Cannabis right now socially is accepted as a low class thing. People believe it's stoners, it's people on the corner selling. It's actually the opposite. Class A's that are being utilized all throughout London, for instance, the upper echelon are focusing on this illegal drug. But we actually have a legal way of getting balance in our lives that's on the bottom. So I kind of want to flip that and rebrand cannabis and make it sexy and make it what people do normally to balance their lives. They don't have to be off their face. They can literally be able to function on a daily basis if they utilize this and not this, which has bad effects, which are the class A's. So I look at it as a flip. So that's what I would really love to see, is that would make it something that creates productivity, lifestyle, and wellness. Doesn't seem like a bad thing. It's a plant. That is my plan. So I'm really excited to see what happens next.
Right now, cannabis, people say it's becoming the strain. Everything's evolving. It's becoming so strong because so many breeders made it so strong. What's your opinion on it?
I think we have to go back to our roots, literally. No pun intended. I think we need to go back to the genetics that began and put those back in the market because they're stabilized. They haven't been touched. They're purpose-driven. They're purpose-built. They're purpose-bred. And I think if we start doing that, people will see a much more therapeutic effect, because when you're combining things and the regulatory bodies are there, but they're cutting corners in some places on how they import and how it's working for medicine, I feel like if we start going back and just getting back to where it all began, our genetics that we then pump into the industry are going to be so much more appreciated because there's stability and consistency. I think that will also prevent any kind of worry about safe access or worry about any kind of consistency in medicine if we stabilize what we're putting out there.
Right. So if I'm very inexperienced and I was like, I want to try. So where do I start?
There are private clinics, for instance, I know the UK market, so their private clinics will then consult with you and decipher what's best for you and give you the opportunity, because these are doctors that are trained in prescribing. It's not trained in academia. So this is secondary education because it's outside of academia. And I find that a lot of the doctors who are retiring are probably not as interested in learning something new to prescribe, rather than the doctors that are new, that are coming out, that are aware. They've heard it on the street. They'll probably want to learn. There's a very big lucrative business behind it.
I also know that you are putting a lot of effort into this women in cannabis society. Please elaborate.
So the Empower Her Cannabis Society was co-founded by myself and a woman named Rebecca back in 2023. I felt very alone. When I started in the UK, I went to my very first capital investment forum. I was the only woman in a sea full of suits. And I was like, where are my hippies at? Like, what's happening? What is going on? And I realized that we were such a minority. And I was continually being battered by C-suites of men, used as a dog and pony show. For board meetings, they'd bring me in because I'm passionate and I can eloquently explain how it works to those who might not understand. And I thought, why am I by myself? Then I started seeing a few little women's groups kind of coming together, and a few women would reach out. One was Hannah Deacon. She recently passed away. She was one of the women that inspired me to start thinking about finding others. And once I found those other people, Rebecca and I decided to create the Empower Her Cannabis Society. And when we did that, we did a networking event. And we literally signed up every woman that walked by. We're like, who are you? Who are you? It grew from 36 people to 300, from 300 now to 840, and we cover 32 countries. And the reason for us existing is that we are a network of women, all in professional and patient capacities, that can access one another, can get advice, understanding, trade, commerce, commercial, everything in one hub. And we now have become a formal association here in Berlin, so that we have a legal and ethical committee. If there's any trouble or problems, the women can come to us, and we will start unveiling our membership model, where we have honorary members that are for free, and members who pay, and all of that accesses different aspects of what we're doing. And we also can accept corporate sponsorships so that the other companies out there can understand that the perspective of women is essential for the industry to grow. We uplift one another, we uplift their businesses, and we uplift the industry by collaborating. But we're still a minority. We're still about 20%. Like last night, there were probably like maximum 20 women in an event with about 150 men. But now we're getting stronger. And right now, in today's society, women must band, and we must stand, and we must shout, and we must talk, because we have a lot to say and we have a lot to offer. And if a business is creating products for women without women making decisions on those products, without researching women's bodies, we're failing. We have a chance to change the cultural, societal, and historical norms of all of business and all of research. In cannabis, we could change that. We could start putting equality in our research, equality in our product and drug development, and then we can actually service the society properly.
So saying right now we have an aspiring young lady wanting to have a career in cannabis. She would want to know like the quality, if she fits, what would be your advice to her?
I would join the group and introduce yourself. The people will help. The women help. They all help. If someone is sick, if someone needs a question, if someone's in Italy or Bulgaria or wherever, they message on there, and we have different channels for different topics, and people will respond. So you start, and they're recruiters. We have Emerald Lane Recruitment. They're on our group. They do international placements. So anyone that's interested could be mentored and supported and advised. We all went in blank. There was no playbook. We just jumped into the deep end and we thought, we'll figure this out. And with that, you have the trials and errors, but the failures lead to the successes, and the failures lead to knowing what you don't want to do.
I really appreciate the mentorship. Without people helping me with knowledge, I would never make it.
It's a dodgy place to start, going into the world, because the regulatory bodies really guide how we do, but then the advancements that we want to do might surpass that. So there is this, it's a little bit of a game of pole position. However, if the right people stand together and the right ethics are implemented, there's nothing we can't do.
So hopeful. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, one last question.
Yes.
Is there anything, like in your opinion, is very important, but we're not talking about it? Like anything about cannabis or the world?
I think females, we're not even researched. We're not researched. Even Viagra for females was tested on men. So all clinical research dating back, I want to say Callie said 77, started to just be on men for all humans. So we need to change that, which we can because we're the industry, and it's already happening. One of my clients at Anda Pharma has already done a pharmacokinetic study on their formulation for endometriosis symptoms. That was a true study done on women to create a woman drug for endometriosis, which is underdiagnosed and people suffer every day. I think we need to bring that to the table, because once we do that, it normalizes it. Once we normalize it, over-the-counter products start getting normalized. Then we start really understanding how we can service everybody. But it needs to be inclusive and it needs to be diverse. And we need to have an amazing array of options. Those with Parkinson's might not be able to swallow. Maybe we do something topical. People with Alzheimer's might not want to eat. Maybe we do a dissolvable. We need to find things that are going to actually service the demographics across the board.
Nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening.
Amazing.